All right, welcome back, everyone. This video right here is going to kind of explain the purpose of different splits that offensive linemen use in different systems of football. So, if you watch football, you'll realize if you pay attention, especially if you watch from end zone angles, you'll notice offensive lines at different teams use different splits between their offensive linemen. First of all, when I mean split, I'm talking about this gap right here between each of the linemen. There's various reasons to have varied splits. Um, but to kind of start at something basic, most teams you'll watch at the NFL level and your conventional offenses at the college level will usually use 1 foot or 2 foot splits. So we're going to assume these are 1 to 2 foot splits right now. So and these those teams that use their basic drop back pocket style pass protection, or those that basic running game where it's a combination of zone and power, where it's more focused on the formations they use with their backs, how they utilize their skill players, and not so much the schemes they use. But then you'll find, even with some of those teams and with other systems, you'll hear of things called smart splits. Smart splits are adjustments that linemen can make to their split in order to help them better achieve their goal or better achieve their assignment. So, for example, let's say on a particular play against this front, the center and this guard were responsible for double teaming this nose guard, or this nose guard right here. If their foot, let's say this nose guard is really fast, or he just is too quick off the ball and he's dominating that center, and they can't get that double team established quick enough, a team could tell their guard, let's narrow down that split. So let's align here, and everyone else will kind of follow suit. And now he's in a better position to help get a quick double team. A common one you'll find, especially with option teams for a smart split, is a wider split on the backside. So let's say the offense wants to run the ball to the right. They want to run the ball this way, but these two players keep chasing the play down from behind. Let's say they're running zone where they don't particularly block these defenders, and they're chasing the running back down constantly. So another smart split option is to have the backside widen their splits. So rather than maybe having a 1 or 2 foot split, they'll widen it to 3 feet. I know Air Force a few years ago, you could see them sometimes using offensive line splits as wide as 4 to 5 feet. So now you can see we've already pushed these defenders farther away from the defense and farther away from where the ball is going. So by adjusting this smart split, it forces this defender to travel farther to chase the play down. Another reason a team might use smart or wider splits or wider smart splits is to help establish better blocking angles. So let's say they ask this tackle to expand his split to 3 feet and this tight end to expand their split to 3 feet. And their assignment was to block down. So you'll see this a lot with wing T and option teams. Having good angles is imperative for an offensive line that uses lots of veer and trap schemes, and it's particularly important if your offensive line tends to be smaller, which you might see with those kind of offenses. So by widening these splits and bringing them farther from these down blocks, this gives them a better angle to block down. And the reason why that helps is because when you have a smaller lineman, you're not going to expect them to drive these big defenders back as much. But it's a lot simpler to simply pin a defender to one side or to keep them from getting on the other side of you. So by widening your splits, you can get these better down blocks. Another reason you might see, too, is if they do want to run this, offense does want to run this way, you'll see wider splits, which creates more space on this side. So maybe if a team wants to attack this B gap here, or this bubble, by widening that tackle split, you have that, you just made that bubble larger, which gives your offense more space to run. So there's two particular systems out there, or actually there's three I'm going to talk about. So first are who uses those really tight splits. So we're talking, really condensed like this. These splits, I'm talking splits less than a foot. So these splits can be 6 inches, or for some high school teams, no splits. They're foot to foot. Their feet are touching each other. You'll see those a lot with double wing teams. So if any of you ever played high school, you faced somebody who just does that all game. With these tight splits, it keeps all the defense in a tight proximity, which allows all these offensive blockers to get to them quicker. It allows the double teams as well. So if you're trying to run a power play off tackle here, and you have these foot to foot splits or 6-inch splits, those double teams are quicker to establish. It can also help on the backside too, because especially with the teams that use this formation, that use that student body right, student body left type of play where everybody's moving in one direction. This tight end might have a cut responsibility. Maybe he's responsible for cutting a backside tackle. By using these tight splits, he can easily get across and cut that defender a lot easier because he's a lot closer. So those are reasons to use tight splits. You also see tighter splits used on inside zone a lot. So like teams who run lots of inside zone, like Alabama, lots of NFL teams, you might see smaller splits when they're trying to run inside zone. So they're where they need to get those double teams set up. Keeps everything in closer proximity, as well as the linebackers. But by allowing them the tighter splits to establish their double teams quicker, they can get their eyes on these backers and pick them off quicker. So those are the benefits of tight splits. Wide splits, there are two particular camps I've seen that use wide splits. By wide splits, I'm talking 3-foot splits. Those are the air raid offenses, the Mike Leach family tree, as well as the flexbone option offenses like Paul Johnson. So there's two big purposes about that. So the first is the air raid. You're a team, like your Mike Leach offense, who wants to throw the ball 70+% of the time. And you also want to use all of your receivers en route. So the air raid in particular is known for having all 5 of its eligible receivers en route, which means there's only 5 blockers to protect the quarterback. By having these wide splits, it pushes these defenders farther away from the quarterback. So this defensive end, let's say this is the best defensive end in the country for whatever reason. He's right there. You widen that split out to 3 feet or even wider. You've just pushed him all the way out there. So even if he comes unblocked and can get right around that tackle with no problem, it still increases the amount of time it takes for him to get to that quarterback. So that's why the smart splits and the air raid are really useful because, again, they're often only 5 in protection. So the wide splits make it easier. And it also helps them open up the running lanes inside. So when they do run, usually the running game is just, for a lot of these teams, it's like inside zone, maybe a power play, and that's it. With these wide splits, it's harder to make these double teams, but it allows them to single out defenders, who has who's going to block who, and the natural running lanes are wider for the running back. So while there's no double teams, let's say this guy gets burnt outside on a run play, it's easier for the back to spot that quicker and to cut it upfield. So wide splits just open up the running lanes. And then, of course, you have the option offenses like Paul Johnson, Army, Navy, Air Force, where they're using those 3-foot splits. And again, sometimes even wider like I explained earlier. So now let's say you're playing a 4-3 or whatever. These wide splits allow first of all, you're running a lot of option plays. So they're leaving these defenders along the line unblocked, 1 or more unblocked per play. So let's say they're running inside veer, here's your dive read. If this line split was closer like this, he's here, that brings him closer to the quarterback, meaning that quarterback has to make the read faster because he's coming quicker. The wide splits buy the quarterback more time to read. When they run their zone dive, which is what they like to use when the defense does this, when they get a numbers advantage inside the tackles, they like to run their zone dive. With these wide splits, it allows the fullback's going to dive here at this guard. With these wide splits, it allows him to quickly decide whether or not he can cut back here or go there. And again, the lanes are so wide that the double teams aren't really necessary. They can usually get a good 3 to 4 yards per pop before those spaces close down. And like I said, another reason for the wide splits in these option offenses prevents chasing down the option from the backside, especially in those slower developing option plays like the counter option. So that's kind of an introduction to various types of splits you'll see in offensive football, as well as an introduction to smart splits. Again, tight splits bring the defender closer so you can create more double teams. Wider splits will allow you to open up more, will push defenders farther from where you're trying to go, which buys your offense more time and helps with blocking angles. All right, hope you enjoyed. Have a good day.